keep that boat.
Court is in session with Ryan in Sacktown on If You Don't Like That. Now, Ryan in Sacktown.
Oh, must be Rhino.
It's Taco Tuesday!
Let's check that, LeBron. Hold on. Let's try that again, Bron. It's
Taco Tuesday!
No. Let's try another one.
It's
Tasteless
Tuesday!
One more, Bron. It's Tumultuous Tuesday!
It's Taco Tuesday!
Street Clothes Tuesday! What's up, everybody? How's it going? I can't give him, you hear the dog in the background? I can't give him a Taco Tuesday after his little act that he pulled at the All-Star game. Still brewing on that. Still brewing on it. A lot going on kind of behind the scenes in the sports world. You still got the Four Nations hockey tournament going on. That has been a hit. We've got NBA basketball getting ready to return. Cooper Flagg, is he going to stay at Duke? Some reports out there about that. Much going on, and I'm not going to lie. I do not have a creative bone in my body, but I am proud of that thumbnail. That thumbnail today, I am proud of. No AI, did it myself by hand. We're going to go over. We're going to make this somewhat like a Kings yearbook for the first half of the season, more than half, 55 games. And to understand where we're at, we got to know where we were at before. I said I murdered that. That was awful.
That's terrible.
That was terrible. To understand where we're going, we need to realize where we came from. And I want to go over maybe 15 of the more impactful sound bites to me of this season. And actually, one of them goes back to last season too. And just take a step back. I was taking a step back and looking at, we talked yesterday about what's going to happen coming out of the break, what the Kings need to be able to do out of the break to really have a shot at the play-in. And I just was kind of like, how did we get here? What was the roadmap? Was there writing on the wall? Were there little tells, little hints? And, you know, I double watch games. I'm listening to sound. I'm asking questions. And even I found some new things. So I want to get all of your guys' thoughts on it. I want to see what you think about this roller coaster of a season. It has been that. Would you get on that coaster? I don't know if I'm getting on that coaster if Vivek's at the front of it. At least he is not running it. He's in the front train. I don't know if I want to be on that one. No offense, Vivek. I hear you're a nice guy. We met once. But anyways, also, we're going to give away, by the way, I don't know if it's going to be today, but we have a giveaway that we're going to be doing. Want some Keon Ellis autograph stuff? You want a Stockton Kings hat? We'll be giving that away here in the next sometime this week. So I'll let you know how. But let's make it a fun day here on the channel. If you weren't here yesterday, we can talk about anything that happened over the weekend and certainly what's coming up next with this Kings team. So it's going to be a fun one. Welcome in. It's the Kings Court here on If You Don't Like That.
Late nights on the screen, hey, it's Grant and Ryan. We bleed purple, talking hoops, never lying. Sacramento Kings, we rise and we fall. If you don't like that, then you don't know ball. Jerry sitting with the stories of the game, spilling all the truth, driving legends insane. From the Cow Palace days to Arco's roar, this town's heart beats on the hardwood floor. If you don't like that, turn away now. Kings in our blood, we ride strong and proud.
What's up? Back with you here, Ryan in Sacktown. Look at that beautiful thing, man. How is this not going viral? How cool is that? You got Vivek right there in the front, Monty behind, Coach Christie. You got DeMar. Foxy somehow made it on. How about that? Keon all the way in the back, right in front of Coach Brown, getting coached up. The cold seat next to Coach Brown. That is a hell of a thumbnail. And then you got some random fan with his hands up behind it. I love it. I think it's great. I'm digging it a lot. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to toot my own horn here. I just think that is a perfect symbolism for the season. The only thing that would have been better is if we had a wooden roller coaster. I could not find a wooden one, but that will do for now. How's everybody doing? This show is not possible without you, so get involved in the action. Get in the chat. I see a number of you there. We'll get to you in a second. Also, get here on the phone lines as my good buddy Bill Walton
Doesn't get any better than
would
this.
say. It doesn't get any better than this. Do you guys know the one question? I'll put this to the chat. I will put this to the chat. Does anybody know the one question that you never want to ask Bill Walton? God rest his soul. There was one question that would trigger just an exhausting response from Bill. Can anybody guess that question? Maybe that should be the giveaway. If you can guess the question, you get the Keon Ellis autograph and you get the Stockton Kings hat. Maybe that'll be the giveaway. I'll think about it. Let's see. Ben, what's up, dude? I'm gonna make one, but in a flaming dumpster. I don't know, man. Not many flaming dumpsters are attached to tracks. That would be an interesting ride, though. You just want a dumpster going down the street on flames? I guess it's possible. Thank you, PK. Roller coaster is true. Yes, indeed. All-Star Weekend was a dud, Ben says. You know, the thing that is just still astounding to me? It is so astounding to me that our expectations were as low as they were for the All-Star game. I know Grant does not watch the All-Star game, didn't expect him to, but I went into this thing with like credit card expectations. That's how much you could fit a credit card under my expectations of this thing, and that would be about legit. And somehow it still came out awful. Incredible. You guys are taking your guesses about Bill. Don't ask Bill about the Lakers. He was up Shaq's. What are you talking about? He was up the Kings' tails from like 2000 to 2002. Bill was all over the Kings to the point many of us were turning the broadcast on mute if you weren't at the game. You're like, dude, he's such a homer. He's such a Lakers homer. And I had never met Bill before that. That was actually one of the first things that I went to Bill with. Like, what's your deal, dude? Why do you not like the Kings? Me, zit-faced 19-year-old rhino in Sacktown, currently living in San Diego, going up to a living legend of basketball. Hey, bro, what's your deal with the Kings, man? Yeah, it kind of went something like that. Why do you love the Grateful Dead so much? No, good guess. Good guess, but we'll keep them going. What is the one question you never wanted to ask Bill Walton? What is the one question? We got that one. Appreciate it. Thumbnail was legit. Yeah, too bad we can't get that thing trending. One of my posts the other day had like 2.5 million. That's got to get trending in Kingsland. The Kings might not like it, but it's true. And we had to include Coach Brown. He's a part of this. Adam's making tacos tonight. There you go. What do you think of this lineup? Fox, Keon, Levine, Keegan, and Sabonis. Fox, Keon, Levine, Keegan, and Sabonis. I don't like it. De'Aaron Fox is in it. You know why I don't like it? I never thought Fox and Levine would work out. That's why for the entire summer, it was go Kings, light the damn beam, stay the bleep away from Levine. That was my outro line. So I'm not a fan of it. You think it's a good lineup? Adam says most volatile season ever. Interesting. Thank you, Rock. Appreciate everybody that's here. Again, if you want to call the show, get up in here. You can just hey, Furious, I got questions for you. Or Furious, are you a girl or a guy? That's the first thing. I think you're a guy. But Furious, I got questions for you. You waved off the $500 gift card, huh? Was there any strong-armed tactics by PK? Did he hit you with a sob story? Like, what's the deal? Or are you just that good of a person? Interesting. Let's see. Todd, what's up? Todd Bolin. Rick Barry taught me to keep my eye on the rim because looking at the ball ruins release and follow through. At his camp in 77, Barnes does this. Think it could help the threes. Ask Jerry for me. I'd be happy to, Todd. Many of these guys, so let me repeat that. You said keep your eyes on the rim. Yeah, I'm trying to think how that's taught right now. I don't think it really is taught, and I haven't worked a youth camp in the last 15 years. But where the eyes are so, it's not common to talk about the eye placement. It's more about the elbow. Interesting. I will ask Jerry. We have Jerry tomorrow. Grant will be here tomorrow. I'm holding it down today on the channel. We have our Kings Roundtable tomorrow at 4:00. That will be on the list. I will get that question to Jerry. I have a feeling of what his answer is going to be, but that's if I have to reframe your question. I'll reframe it. I'm going to ask the meat and potatoes of it, but I want to get Jerry's genuine response to it in a fuller basketball context than just guys looking at the rim. So, yeah, I will get that to him. What's up, big Knicks fan? Hey, Reno, just tuning in. Who do you got winning the Kings-Knicks game on March 10th? I'm going to the game. I've got the Knicks winning that game. I do. Blessings to you as well, Wolf. Blessings to you. In fact, let's go to the phone. Somebody was on the phone. They left. All right. Then I will keep it and keep going on this thing. But yeah, come back tomorrow, 4 p.m. Can you tell things are kind of like light around here right now? Stalling on the intro, waiting to get to the top things in the show. Like I said, we are going to do, you guys ready for the next graphic? Drum roll, please. A Kings mid-season yearbook. If you have things that you think are important to this season, that have helped this season through 55 games turn into what it has become, moments that stick out in your mind, good or bad, put them in the chat. Call the show. Something that's been gnawing at you. Something that's like, you know what? I noticed that in game 2 of the season, and I almost said something to Grant or Rhino, and I should have, because guess what? It continued all the way through game 30. Anything that's bugging you, big or small, call the show, put it in the chat. We'll talk about it. I have about 10 to 15 sound bites picked out that I'm going to go over because I think they are important. I think they paint a very good picture of where this season was headed. And I actually have another analogy of a different team in a different league that I compare this season to. Although they are completely separate in terms of build, I think these seasons are nearly parallel. Also, The Athletic has come out with its NBA All-Star poll. Bigger incentives, Paris expansion. Here's what the players said. We're going to go into that here in a little bit as well. 49er fans, what's going on? I keep seeing all of these different segments, whether they're on Twitter, ESPN, Brock in a hard spot. What do you do with Purdy? So my question to you, Niners fan, is what the hell changed? I thought that's the quarterback of the future for you. I thought that Brock was not a product of the people around him. I thought it didn't matter that he was the last pick in the draft? What's going on? What's with the intrepidation? Are you getting cold feet? Is this a media thing? Is Brock for sure being signed? I am so confused. So tune me in on that as well. And we can continue to talk about the All-Star game. Plenty of other things in the news. The All-Star game is so broke. I don't know. PK, it's still not going to do it. PK, it's not going to do it. I said it yesterday. The only thing that changes the All-Star, well, two things. I'm going to amend my comments from yesterday. There's two things that change the All-Star game. The first is if the new generation, the incoming generation of stars, decide to show up the vets, the guys that are on their way out at the next All-Star game. They get inspired by the guys that came before them. They go back and watch tape of the 96 game, 2004 with Kobe. You get what I'm saying? They recognize that it's so egregious. It's so bad for the league that they stand up to those dudes and they actually start to take it serious. That's the first one. The second one is you put it out of its misery. You go Old Yeller. You just be done with it. If you want to have like an NBA showcase, because quite honestly, as I sat here and like kind of stewed about it some more, I kind of went on hard yesterday on the skills competition. Let me ask you this. If we're watching NBA players who are like the 1% of 1%, I'm pretty sure that it's widely acknowledged by most basketball fans that they can pass the ball, that they can dribble the ball, that they can shoot the ball. So why not show us some freaking skills that you don't usually see in a basketball game? Why don't you show us the outside the box stuff that sometimes the media gets to see? Sometimes people on the back end in the building, open gyms, the workout stuff. What's some of the wilder stuff these guys can do? Hell, play like you remember the Michael Jordan and Larry Bird McDonald's commercial where they're playing horse, I think, for a quarter pounder? Do something like that. Show us your unique skills that make you a 1%er of 1%er. My 10-year-old could pick up a ball, dribble it, pass it, and shoot it. Am I wrong? I'm just saying, it's little things like that. It's too black and white. Don't tell me Draymond brainwashed that you agree with him. No, I don't agree with Draymond. Draymond, okay, for those wrestling fans out there, Draymond went into business for himself. That's what he did on Sunday. And that is the most perplexing thing to me out of this whole thing. When I look across the weekend, I guess if my expectations were underwhelmed, sure, it's the NBA. Nothing surprises me in terms of the All-Star game. But again, coming off of Adam Silver the year before, do I have to remind you how depressing that was and how disturbing that was?
And to the Eastern Conference All-Stars, you scored the most points. Well, congratulations.
Like, if you're the NBA, it's a PR nightmare from an entertainment standpoint, from an engagement standpoint. So aren't you going to put your best foot forward? Like, people on the NBA radio network on Sirius trashing both Sirius and the NBA all weekend long. Draymond Green trashing the game, trashing the process. Hey, I heard a good one earlier today. If you want Bron to play in the All-Star game, why not make Bronny a rising star? I guarantee Bronny would have played. So, yeah, there's so much to chew on. So much to chew on. But no, I do not agree with Draymond. 1 star from each team. So the country will care. 96 All-Star MVP Mitch Richmond in Phoenix. I remember that jersey to a T. One of the best all-star jerseys ever. I remember him raising the trophy. It was a hell of a moment. Hell of a moment. Just go on YouTube. Feel like watching elite dunkers. Yeah, and that's the other thing with the dunk contest. I mean this in all seriousness. You're not going to seriousness. You're probably not putting the All-Star game out of its misery. You're still looking for a way to refigure it. But I would find a classy way to retire the dunk contest. And that doesn't mean like no dunk contest next year, but you already see guys like Ja Morant, you see Zach LaVine, you see some others, Aaron Gordon, that are making some noise right now on Twitter about maybe wanting to do it again. That happens every year. Guys do that when they're 364 days from the contest and in the middle of the season. Wait till you get to, the summer and those conversations start. It's going to be the last thing that they want to do. But if you are truly going to retire it, have one more blowout. That is where the guys like your Bronze, and I doubt he's going to do it, nor do I want him to do it. I don't have any desire to see him in a dunk contest. But some of your younger guys, your newer faces of the league, get them to do it one last time. Mix in some elements of old dunks. You could do even some tributes to some of the best dunks ever, guys trying to take it up a notch, whatever it may be, and make that the last one. And tell everybody, announce it. It's going to be the last one. Maybe the NBA is able to pull a feather out of their cap and get Jordan to arrive, to get some of those guys there in the building for the last dunk contest. Then just do something different. Retire it. Get rid of it. Figure something else out. It's a different day, different generation. ASG players don't care. Fans don't care. But okay, that's the problem, though. It matters to the sponsors. Like, it matters big time to the sponsors. That's why half those guys go that weekend. A lot of guys go that don't even play because of events with sponsors. So we'll see. Yes, we are. We're about to get to it right now. We absolutely are. That's what this show is about. We are doing our Kings mid-season yearbook. Kings mid-season yearbook. I have got some sound drops that I think really put the season into context. And I already said yesterday, if you're just joining us for the first time, Sack King super fan, I said the Kings need to go 5-2 out of the All-Star break. 5-2. First 7 games, you got to win 5. It is the easiest stretch on the schedule for the Kings. And when I say easiest, that doesn't mean that it's easy. It's the easiest stretch in the remaining 27 games. Your longest homestand is Murderers Row. You have a back-to-back with Boston and Oklahoma City, for heaven's sakes. So we are going to get into that. I saw a couple recommendations for what they would have in the yearbook. McNair gets too much hate with the Kings media. McNair is still good to Zach. Okay, so Zach, what would he be in the yearbook? Most underrated? Most underrated? Is that it, Zach? Brightest future? Which way are you going there with him? Because I definitely have thoughts on him. He had a good trade deadline. Or Monty McNair had a very good trade deadline. Can't get on him for that. And you can't really grade the Fox trade quite yet. We talked about that yesterday. We talked about it after the trade. It's going to be at least another cycle from now. We need to see another free agency period, and we need to see another trade deadline before we have any idea if the Fox deal ended up being a good deal or not. And that's at the earliest. Usually it takes a little bit longer for those things to turn out, but because this is the first year of the new CBA, I need more time. Because we might look back and say that was a lot of picks relative to the rest of the market. And I understand that there were better picks that we think the Kings could have gotten. The unprotected firsts from San Antonio, one belonging to the Hawks. Couldn't get one of those. You couldn't get Steph Castle, yada, yada, yada. We'll see. Guru hopping back in again. McNair messed up in the free agency. That is where he messed up. Just remember, we picked best player with Tyrese, and we got Sabonis back. Best player always, or best player available always for me. Okay? A lot of people say that. Jerry Reynolds says the same thing, not arguing with it. I think if your need would have to be at a certain position insurmountably larger. Like you have nobody at that position probably to go outside of that subscription of thinking. I think there is something to that, Zach. But what I can't wrap my arms around, Zach, is best player, sure, but how do the Kings wind up with 2 or 3 guards that are all the same? And when I say all the same, they are smack in the middle between a 2 guard and a 1 guard. To a degree, it's Tyrese, De'Aaron certainly, and this is after De'Aaron was drafted, Davion Mitchell, Devin Carter. I don't know what the obsession is, and maybe it's the way that Monty's team sees basketball, that you don't need a true point guard. I don't know. We're still figuring that out because for the first time in 3 years, including the Beam team, this team now has a true point guard on the roster that could play minutes. Not heavy minutes, but that could play minutes. Jordan McLaughlin, no, he wasn't going to play minutes. Matthew Dellavedova, no, he wasn't going to play minutes. Markelle Fultz kind of has to now. So can he bridge some of those over? So I just don't get why the Kings kept going back to that well. And did that turn Fox off? Did that possibly turn Fox off? We'll never know. Maybe we will know in the future. Let's go to the, oh, look at this. Look at this. Enjoy the background, y'all. Corn Dog, what's up, dude?
Oh, man. I already knew you were bringing me on just the way by that reaction.
I love the background. What's up, man?
Not too much. I mean, not enjoying an NBA All-Star weekend.
Yeah, that was rough. It was bad.
Yeah, it was mainly commercials and Kevin Hart and pageantry and not a lot of basketball.
Yeah, what stood out to you as the worst parts?
Just wasn't a lot of basketball being played. Like
33 minutes and 41 seconds on Sunday.
Yeah,
3-hour broadcast. 33 minutes and
not a good ratio at all. Like the Super Bowl does better ratios, and that thing's heavy with commercials.
Yes, I agree. I agree.
The dunk contest, I did like the dunk, but I mean, we're not getting any like big names in there, and it wasn't like an Aaron Gordon Levine battle or a rising stars like when Kobe and Vince Carter did it, or T-Mac or Wilkins or Jordan. Like there's none of the rising stars that want to do it anymore either. Like let alone superstars. I get, because they really don't want to get hurt for such a shallow reward. But okay, the rising guys, hold
on, really quick. This is not your fault. I'm so glad you said it because I meant to bring this up. NBA contracts are guaranteed. I get that you want to win a championship, but everybody's like, they don't want their money messed with. We're talking about guys that are set for life. And if they got hurt in the All-Star game, they're still going to get paid. Like, yeah,
I'm with you, man. There's a lot of guys that signed a 4-year deal or whatever, and they got hurt and they get cashed out. Remember, Gilbert Arenas was getting cashed out for years.
Yeah, for sure.
After not playing basketball because they cut him and no team won and he was getting paid just to sit at home.
For sure. Mike Brown is getting paid right now.
Yeah, Raiders coaches. There's like what, 3 or 4 of them?
Yeah.
Getting paid right now. Yeah, but I mean, yeah, but like again, like I don't need like the current at least a rising star. Like again, Aaron Gordon, Zach Link, they were rising stars when they did. Vince Carter, rising star. Blake Griffin, rising star. Kobe was a rising star. Jordan, Dr. J, he was kind of the start of it, but you got to have some name in there to draw attention to it.
Don't disagree with you. Pressure says even an NBA contract is guaranteed, even though No one wants to blow that knee out, homie. Well, those NHL guys are going pretty hard right now in the Four
Oh
Nations
man, you
tournament.
see, and that's also the thing. You show a lack of passion the same time when NHL is showing the most passion you could possibly show. Oh, you booed our national anthem. Let's go, and they just went at it.
Dem is fighting words. Yep.
One showing this level, one showing level that's below the camera of passion, and it's you gotta figure something out. I mean, Adam Silver is, a commissioner that will not do anything that the players don't want to do. He is 100% player based, and it's honestly hurt this product. And he keeps always with his ticky tacky answers of, we are working on.
Want to let it marinate a bit.
Yep, there. Yeah, that, and that's great, but you got to be able to mix player base, owner base, and fan base. But you just keep going player, and your viewers go down, down, and you wonder why.
Yep. And he talks about stuff like the physical grinding. What?
Of the physical, grinding.
Hey, each season's a grind. Each day's a grind. There's nothing different with that. I mean, like, you got to play, hey, back in the day, man, people were working their day jobs and then playing NBA for just because they wanted to be playing in the basketball league and they were really good at it. There was no money.
Yeah. Well, maybe the system is partly to blame. I just think that this group of stars has put these guys, the younger guys, in a really weird situation, because I bet if you shot some of these younger guys with truth serum, they would want to play a little bit more competitive. Not all of them, but some of them would. But it's those norms. You're not going to go against the vets, right? You're not going to go against the grain, and they just go with it. So I'd like to see them stand up to it, because it's closer to being their league than it is LeBron's and Steph's and everybody else.
Yeah. LeBron ain't gotten 5 more years in him. I can tell you that.
LeBum. Yeah.
There ain't no 5 more years left. This, maybe at 35 he could say it, but not now. And there's maybe it, or maybe 1 to 2. I don't see anymore.
Agree. So 2 questions. I'm gonna give you 2 questions. The first is, what is the one question you should never ask Bill Walton? God rest his soul.
Never ask him what size Subway sandwich he likes.
Oh, nope,
That's
close. Not quite there. Not quite there. Let's go to the judges. Is that the question? Nope.
I'm sorry. That's always been in my head.
Seriously though, anything you would add to the Kings mid-season yearbooks? We're going to start talking about that here in just a
mid-season yearbooks for the Kings. I mean,
what's the comment you would write in their yearbook? There's the question. What is the comment you would write in the Kings mid-season yearbook?
Consistency, day in and day out.
Consistency, day in, day out. Now, how are you signing it? Are you signing it?
I'm putting a corn dog next to it.
Are you signing corn dog?
I'm just putting a corn dog.
Okay, I like it. By the way, we have new imaging. Anytime one of the dogs in the King's Court comes on the show, I should have hit you with it. There you go. There's your imaging. So, appreciate you, dude. Thanks for the call. Be well. Good hearing from you and seeing you.
Yes, sir. I will be here. Go Kings.
Yes, sir. Corn dog. If you don't know the story behind corn dog, it goes back a long time. He is an OG here on the King's Court, and he started calling Grant and I's shows together, and we had so many different dogs here, and we keep having new dogs show up. Not going to mention the most recent one, Dom Dog, but anyways, he called one of our shows and he put corn dog into the name area, and so he comes on the show and Grant goes, corn dog, what's up? And so it stuck after that, but Grant didn't realize that he had called him corn dog. In fact, I called him corn dog when he came on another time, and Grant corrected me. And he's like, no, we're not calling him corn dog. We're like, dude, you started it, Grant. Napes, you called him corn dog. And so then I hit him with the fat from Mike Gundy, the fat. And Napes is looking at me like, did you just call corn dog fat? No, I'm not calling corn dog fat. If you are named after a food on this show, you're going to get hit with some type of food sound like that. So anyways, that is how we got corn dog. So back to the topic today. What is the comment that you would put in the Kings yearbook at the midseason point? What are you writing in their yearbook? Advice, complaints, loves, hates, wants, anything that you would write in there, you can put in the chat. Also, anything you want to contribute to it, put it in there. And the question that I'm asking all of you revolves around the late, great Bill Walton. What is the one question? In fact, you know what? That's what we're going to do. If you get this right, you will be getting a Keon Ellis autograph. I do not know if it's going to be a picture or what, because it's coming from Stockton. They're hooking it up. You are going to get a Keon Ellis autograph and a Stockton Kings hat coming your way, courtesy of the Kings Court. So you have to answer this question. There was one question that we all knew that you should never ask Bill Walton. What is it? You got to figure it out. It's not that hard. Sack Kings fan, Kings are a disappointment for the level of talent we have. Okay, I think that's fair. I think it's actually kind of mild. My comment to the Kings is, how was 2002? Do they still hurt deeply inside? None of those guys are in this yearbook, man. Why would they care about 2002? They care about this year, 24, 25. All right, so this is my first drop that I'm going to play for you. You have to go back to last year to understand how we got here today. And I go back to a moment. This is the only moment that's going to go back to last season. But I go back to 24 hours before the play-in game against Golden State. Mike Brown was asked about offensive execution. Mike Brown was asked about what is different with this offense this year. How confident are you? And I'm paraphrasing here. No, Adam did not have. Adam, stop it, bro. Don't disrespect Bill Walton like that. I know you're joking. I love that man. Okay, so back to what I was saying. Mike was asked about the offense. This is something that has stuck with me all the way through then to where we're at today. Well, really where we were the day he got fired. Something that still blew my mind. And again, I think it really sets up some of the things that we saw as this season unfolded. Here was Mike Brown being asked about the offense last season before the first play-in game.
It was a little bit unknown. We were just kind of slinging that thing and trying to do whatever we can to get a win and playing loose and free and all that. And, we should play, fast, loose and free and all that other stuff. But I feel like that there's a purpose behind what we're trying to do on both sides of the floor. And then, offensively, our guys have gotten a little bit better feel like, they have their play calls outweigh my play calls. And last year, for the most part, I made it almost every single play call. But this year, if guys feel something or see something, I've given them the freedom to step in, and they all have stepped in at times and made different play calls throughout the course of the year, which is great, especially when the team has the ability to figure out things on their own during the fly.
Anybody understand why I think that is big? Anybody want to take a stab at why I think that plays very much into this year? Anyone? Okay, I'll go. So, in the play-in game against Golden State, the Kings arguably played one of their best games of the beam team era, hands down. Keegan Murray goes 8 for 13, I believe, from beyond the arc, or 8 for 13 from the floor. Maybe it was from beyond the arc. I don't have the stats in front of me. He had a really good game. The Kings came out and targeted mismatches. They ran set plays. Mike took back over the play calling that game. It blew my mind that Mike Brown, to the media, and this is after the Kings had an offensive regression, a regression to the point that free throws were down, not percentage. The amount of free throws were down. The attempts, the makes, however you want to quantify it, they were down 21+% year over year from 22-23. That's insane. Not to mention the percentage, which everybody points to first. That was down. Okay, we're getting a few more. How high are you? No. Adam, we're going to get there. Don't ruin my show. I'm just kidding. Loved playing the game versus the Pelicans. That was great. Made the Queens go back 90-90. Wow. Queens, huh? Pressure. Bill Walton should have won a Oscar for Little Nicky, no doubt. I don't remember his role in that. I think Doug Christie is in over his head, to be honest. We'll see. He's got 27 games left. Bill, how high are you right now? That was a given. You didn't have to ask that question too much. I know. I just don't like bringing it up. Rip Bill. Bill was awesome. Asking Bill Walton to talk less. Now, PK, you're getting in the neighborhood. You are somehow, PK, you have somehow found your way in the neighborhood of the answer. There's a hint. Bill Walton, something to do with the Grateful Dead. Didn't have anything to do with the Grateful Dead. Now, maybe the Grateful Dead would come up after you asked the question. Inevitably, that usually would come up about 50% of the time, but keep guessing. Somebody will get it. You'll win a Keon Ellis autograph in a Stockton Kings hat, courtesy of the Kings Court. I think it's going to be an autograph picture. The Stockton Kings are sending it out. So, anyways, ruin the show? No, that's his job. Yeah, I don't know. Little man, haunted horse hero horse, we should call him. Hero horse. The question is, what is the one thing you should never ask Bill Walton? The one thing you should never ask Bill Walton. What's the one thing that you should never ask Bill Walton? You got to think outside the box here, people. You got to think outside the box. Nothing too specific, nothing too big. It's right there in the middle. It's fairly common. You just got to think about it, and I'll explain on the back end, but you will win that Stockton King stuff that I'm talking about. Double trouble now. So, yeah, there we go. Double trouble. Back to Mike Brown and back to what I was saying. The Kings, they had a regression, and there wasn't answers for it, and we're like, what's going on? A lot of people pointed at De'Aaron Fox. It's like, shooting a lot of threes. Maybe that's it. Well, we also don't always recognize the fact that De'Aaron Fox was playing off of the basketball many times, something that was different for De'Aaron Fox. What's up, BG? Doing great. Asking Bill Walton not to tell stories. No, not that, PK. Keep going, though. Unlimited guesses here. If you get somewhere in the neighborhood, I will put it on the screen, and I'll keep monitoring these. Sack King Superfan. Don't ask him if he couldn't match up against Larry Bird. Nope, that's not it. Keep going. It's going to be fun when you guys get this. But anyways, so for Coach Brown to say that he handed over the reins to the guys, I'm thinking that's kind of weird. He called so many plays the first year, right? But then what happens this summer? He gets a contract extension. Mike Brown is now in this weird place, right? Because year one, he admittedly, we just listened to it, called a lot of the plays, most of the plays. Year two, he rarely called any plays. And now year 3, what happens? You get a contract extension and you land DeMar DeRozan, somebody that is known to be a quote unquote ball stopper, somebody that is an ISO player. How are you going to work an ISO player into a motion offense, a free flowing offense that now, admittedly, from Coach Brown, was being ran most of the time by the guys? It was up to the guys. They were making the reads, they were calling the plays. So for me, that really sets up a lot of context, a ton of context into what we ran into this season. So I move on to my next quote from this season, my next drop. It's Malik Monk at the beginning of training camp. I thought this was really fun. For those that have been on the Kings ride for the entire season, you know that Malik Monk got his extension and he got paid relative to what he was making before. This was his first real big contract. It was a you have a home here in a city contract, something Malik Monk had never had. You are a valued member. You are a core member of this basketball team. He had it. Those behind the scenes know that Malik has always been the yin to the Kings yang, meaning when things are too low, Malik brings them up. Vice versa. When things are too high, Malik will bring it back down. He's always kind of spoke up for other guys and himself. So coming into this season, he was a little bit more opinionated. He felt like it was his place to be able to speak up more. And one of the funner things, funner, not a word, Ryan, one of the more interesting and fun things to watch in training camp was Malik Monk holding the coaching staff accountable. In fact, Malik Monk was asked about the coaching staff and asked about the first couple days of training camp. There is a bad word in this, prefacing it, so plug your kids' ears. I'm giving you a 5-second warning. This is how Malik responded.
Like the first day of school is always boring. Might be talking too fucking much. And yeah, just a lot of learning.
It's probably the one thing that I did miss is him making sure that I'm on my P's and Q's. We all got to be held accountable, and he definitely will help hold me accountable for sure.
Got to. Because they try to hold us accountable. We got to hold them accountable too. We got to be the same way.
Oh, Malik, he's the one guy. Well, so Malik and my son, those are the two guys I think that are not afraid to let me know anytime I do the slightest bit wrong.
I'll probably just say everything that everybody else want to say. So I'll say it's just me. DeMar does it a little bit too. Obviously, he's a vet. Been in it for a while, so he knows what's going on. But yeah, might be bullshit.
So that's Malik for you. Never asked Bill about his foot injuries. Nope, not injuries. We'll see. Keep them coming. Kevin Durant is in the house. What's up, KD?
What's up, Rhino? How are you?
Good. How you doing, brother?
So good. So the question to Bill Walton, was it, I'm just going to take a wild guess. Was it Luke Walton?
Nope, not Luke. Not
Okay.
Luke. He loved talking about his kids, though. Not Luke.
Okay, but anyways, about the Kings, I'm excited for the Warriors game. I want to see how the Kings match up with the Warriors now with Jimmy Butler. Hopefully we win that game, but the Kings' schedule, it's looking rough, and I wouldn't be surprised if they don't even make the play-ins. But hopefully they do. But I'm losing faith in this team because of the defensive end. We have enough offense, but we can't defend. You can't win a lot of games when you can't defend. So it's just, I don't know. We need to make some changes. I don't know what, but we need at least like defensive wings for sure. We need some wings for sure. And I'm not talking about a 6-piece wings from KFC.
Dude, there's so many better places than KFC. You got to do like Popeyes if you're going to do.
What about Bennett's?
Well, of course. But I was going to say, if you're doing like drive-through fried chicken, I think Popeyes probably goes to the top of the list. No?
Speaking about Bennett's, I had Bennett's a couple days ago. I had the steak over there. It's so good.
Which
Really good.
ones did you have, KD?
The ribeye steak.
Hell yes. Which location did you go to?
So I believe it was the Fair Oaks.
Love it, man. I'm so glad you went. Did you get to meet anybody over there, Brian or Margot?
No, I didn't meet nobody.
Well, dude, thank you for going in and supporting. Super cool. We'll let Brian know. We love getting that feedback. Glad you loved it as well.
Yes, sir. Of course. Thank you, Ryan.
Good job, Katie. I don't disagree with Katie. I think that's why if I look at the practice time that this team's going to have, the first amount of practice time that they've had since losing Fox and acquiring Zach LaVine and Valanciunas, I don't worry so much about Valanciunas as I do LaVine, and it not so much for the basketball IQ things that I've been kind of worried about. That's not the reason that I worry more about LaVine. I worry more about LaVine in the sense of when the Kings do a lot of their rushing, when they do a lot of their trapping, it's guard oriented. A lot of that takes timing. It takes being on the same page, communication, learning your teammates' tells, what they like to do, where they like to trap. And that's just going to take some games to figure out. I think that's why it was so fragmented for a little bit, especially against the Pelicans. We saw it against some other teams. Dallas, it was kind of fragmented as well. But Doug Christie is well known for not working these guys physically too hard, which is going to lead us also to our next sound drop. He likes to work more of the mental end. Now, that being said, these next couple practices, I do think it's important for them to put some of this into practice. The one area that if I'm Doug Christie, that I'm going to be hammering in and working on besides the trapping defensively is the 2-3 zone. The 2-3 zone, when De'Aaron was here, the Kings were getting a little bit more creative. They were able to do some different things out of that zone. It didn't always have to be a 2-3. It could be a 1-2-2, or it could be a 1. Well, there's a couple. Okay, I'm not going to get into the weeds and go through all the different zones. But the Kings were able to fluctuate it. And when I say fluctuate it, they could go from zone to man in the swing of the basketball. And I think some of that needs to be worked in with the new guys. That's going to take some working out. That is a little bit more complicated. And to me, that is what the practice time is about, because we know man to man, these guys aren't great defenders on the perimeter. Now, you have a very good defender in Keon Ellis. Keon is incredible on the perimeter for the most part, especially against Curry. But Zach LaVine's going to need a little bit of help. Keegan Murray, he's going to be fine. But I want those nuances, because what's so important is when the Kings are getting burned with their man defense, you've got to be able to switch to more than just a basic version of the 2-3 zone. And that is where I am looking at the practice time. Speaking of practice time, that's where we move to our next quote in the Kings mid-season yearbook. This was the first time. And I guess before we listen to this one, I want to draw a parallel. While all this was unraveling and unfolding with the Kings in training camp, we were sitting here in Northern California looking at the 49ers just nonstop. It was 49ers stuff. Grant and I were covering it. It was the Ayuk situation. It was Trent Williams. It was Christian McCaffrey's injuries. And coming into the season, the Niners were championship or bust. Like, you had to win a championship. This was the year. You were all freaking in. But as we started to look back, even back to the draft, when Ayuk, was he going to get traded? Is he not? You started to see things weren't really on the same page with the Niners. When Kyle Shanahan came in with John Lynch for their first press conference after a month away from the facility, Shanahan still looked fatigued. And from that point on, dominoes just kept falling that told you, this doesn't seem right. I don't know that this is going to work. And then the preseason happens, And then you roll into the regular season, and most Niners fans are like, guess what? They're going to be fine. Who cares about preseason? Ayuk doesn't need practice time. Trent doesn't need practice time, right? And then we know what happens. And so the parallel that I'm drawing here is, in a way, the Kings training camp. Things felt a little bit off and just not right. You almost kind of had that same feeling, or at least I had that same feeling, and I'm not even a Niners fan, that I was getting when I was looking at the Niners situation, saying, I'm not so sure that when the regular season starts, this is going to get turned on its head. This was the first moment in training camp, and mind you, we are only 2 or 3 preseason games in. And Malik Monk had this to say, and it completely blindsided Mike Brown.
Like the first day of school is always boring. Might be talking too fucking.
Wrong one. Sorry. And we got an extra F-bomb. Here we go.
Try not to talk too loud.
Oh, excuse me. I got one ahead of myself. So we'll go back to the Niners thing. Sorry, this is bad producing. I got one drop ahead of myself. After the Kings' first scrimmage, and before Malik Monk's comments that I just set up, Mike Brown was overheard getting into a couple of guys, something that doesn't usually happen in front of the media. In this case, it did. But what Mike Brown was getting into them about ended up being pretty true and pretty important and actually played out. So this is the one before what I set up a second ago with Malik Monk in the preseason game. So here was Mike Brown after the Kings' first scrimmage.
Try not to talk too loud. I was controlling myself. I was back there with Wes. I said, Wes, do you think they heard me? He said, I don't know. You did pretty good. I said, I was trying to do a good job. The scrimmage was good. And I'm going to pick on Mason. Mason had a great day. He had a really, really good day. And his energy was at a high level. He was very, very talkative throughout the course of the day. Did some great things offensively, some great things defensively. And basically the last 2 possessions of the scrimmage, he turns the ball over and stops playing when Keegan steals it. And then he turns it over in the backcourt and he keeps running this way and stops playing. And I basically said, hey, in a nutshell, that can cost you a series. Somebody gets too quick, bang, bang. Now they're feeling good about themselves. Maybe you blow them out by 15 or by 10. Now it's maybe a 4-point game because they hit 2 threes. And so they're like, no, we can beat these guys. Or maybe they win the game because of it. And next thing you know, the series changes, the momentum changes. And we want to pay attention to all the details all the time. And then you're going back to the climbing together. If you're climbing a mountain and you let a couple of small details, or what you think are small details, go, like not getting back or not clipping into carabiner. I hope I'm saying that right, Ed. That could be drastic.
So the small details, right? If you don't realize what he was pointing out, what he was explaining with Mason, is exactly what happened in the Kings' play-in loss to the Pelicans. It's exactly what happened. De'Aaron Fox had 3 bad plays in a row. And now looking back, here's your tie-in. Looking back at what Mike made an example of with Mason Jones after the first scrimmage, it is exactly to a T what landed Keon Ellis on the bench. You remember Keon's 3 bad plays? I forget which game it was. And then Keon didn't play the next game. And I understand earlier in the season, there was one stretch. There was one game. It was against the Lakers early on where Mike didn't play Keon. I'm talking about later in the season. Keon had 3 bad plays that in the grand scheme of things weren't a massive deal. But compared to the other guys who were making mistakes, Keon was really the only one that Mike could hold accountable and take the minutes away. You can't take the minutes away from Fox. You can't take the minutes away from Sabonis, DeRozan, etc. It was Keon. So it's interesting that Mike was pointing that out in training camp. And again, going back to the year before. So Mike had pointed that out in scrimmage. We get back to the original setup. Sorry, Tristan. I saw your comment in there. Smart guy. Malik, after the second preseason game, caught Mike Brown off guard with this. Literally caught him off guard. Malik was asked why the shooting was so bad. Why the shooting was so bad, specifically behind the arc. Here's what Malik Monk had to say, and here was Mike Brown's response. I wish I could play the video to you or for you. I can't. But listen to Mike, just dumbfounded. And I'll tell you why it's important afterwards.
I think the guys are tired. And it showed last night. We didn't have any legs, so we'll figure it out. We've been doing this for a while, so I think we'll be all right.
What do you attribute some of that fatigue to, especially considering the day off right before?
10 practices in 8 days. That's it. Yeah. But yeah, we were just tired.
So they're tired.
They are.
Mike, because they mentioned some of that fatigue last night. I mean, did you kind of see some of the same things in terms of them not having the legs under them?
You know, the 2 games we played, nobody's played more than 20 minutes. These guys are like high caliber athletes, you know, and we haven't practiced them too hard. Even our last contact practice, I pulled Malik and Fox and Domas out of the contact practice, so they haven't had a contact practice in a while, you know, in practice. Now they played 20 minutes in games. Last night it was up to 27 minutes or whatever, but maybe if he says they are, then I guess they are, but I would, without talking to them, I would assume it's more mental fatigue than anything else.
All right, so we are 2 games into the preseason. As Malik said, 10 practices in 8 days in 2 games, and the guys said they were tired. Remember what I said about 3 drops ago when I was like, Malik kind of speaks up for the guys that don't really speak up? Really interesting crossroads there, and completely caught Coach Brown off guard there. Evan, what's up today?
Hey, do you like the Mike Brown firing, or what do you think about it?
I don't have a problem with the firing. I just had a problem with the way the firing was done.
Yeah, I agree with that. I just think, I mean, his only issue that I had was the practicing too much, but I think holding the guys accountable and all that was what they needed. And you see, like, they have these lapses. I mean, the timeouts were a little bit excessive, but yeah. I think that he held them accountable and they needed that. And it feels like, I don't know what Doug Christie's ceiling is as a coach, but Mike Brown's definitely higher. So
they're just different. Doug has a different approach when it comes to preparation. He has a different approach when it comes to team building off the court. And when I mean like team building, it's not so much like doing things together as a group, but connected activities within the building instead of maybe, you know, going out and running 5s or running scrimmages. And Mike is more geared towards the X's and the O's. And the other thing, Evan, that I think brings up a really good point here is that Coach Brown was criticized a lot about practicing these guys too much. And this isn't a new group. This is a group that had been together now. This was going into the start of the 3rd year, right? So you wonder how much feedback back and forth there were between the leaders of this team and then obviously Coach Brown, and how much of Coach Brown now getting an extension was, I'm going to dig my heels in and really do it the way I want to do it, catching the guys maybe a little bit off guard and not ready for it.
Yeah, I mean, you referenced that Pelicans game they had in the play-in. Like, I was so excited for that game. I was like, hey, if we win this, we play Oklahoma City. And I could kind of convince myself in my head, like, if Keegan and Kevin Herter shoot well, like, it's possible we could beat Oklahoma City, you know? But now I just see this current roster we have, and I think if we played any of the top 3 teams, like, I can't convince myself anything that could happen that would make us win. Can you?
Not particularly in a 7-game series. Injuries maybe to the other team. Just the Kings coming out and having an incredible performance from beyond the 3-point line. It would have to be something in that area, and that usually doesn't filter out or work over a 7-game series. I think the ticket for them is to get to the play-in and hope to get hot. I think that's what you have to hope for.
Yeah, I think so too. But I don't know. Maybe Keegan goes crazy or something. But right now it's looking like, I don't know. I just haven't been a fan of, like, the team they had before was good, but obviously had flaws, you know. But it felt like maybe you could possibly put it together. And then now the team, it's like, I don't know what the 5-year plan is here. Like, it feels like a championship in the next 5 years is just out of the possibility completely.
Well, Evan, I think you just hit the nail on the head. The 5-year plan, I don't think there ever was a 5-year plan. There wasn't a plan for the Beam team to do what they did offensively.
Yeah.
This was never this Kings. I hate to break it to everybody. This was never a build out per se. Maybe bringing Sabonis in to pair with Fox. That was your most strategic build out. But after that, everything was just kind of trial and error. So I think that not every team has a 5-year plan, but in this case, they were just kind of flying by the seat of their pants and seeing what happened.
Yeah. I was talking to one of my friends and I asked him, I was like, well, out of all the teams in the league, what teams do you think have, like, less assets counting players and draft capital than the Kings? And, like, the only teams that we could think of was the Pelicans and the Hawks. And, like, other than that, the Kings seem to be in, like, you know, like a bottom 5 situation in the league, like, in terms of you're not contending right now, you're not building for the future. They kind of just, like, I mean, like they love to do, just drafting 8 through 12 and getting, like, mediocre players and having a mediocre team.
They're existing. Yeah, I got you. Evan, appreciate you. Some good points.
Oh, Ryan, I heard you earlier talking about that Stephon Castle dunk, how he hurt his hand. Did you used to be able to dunk?
I could, yes. Believe it or not, I could dunk
Damn.
a basketball.
I'm trying to get there.
Good for you, man. Keep working. How old are you?
I'm 21, but, like, I'm starting to try and, you know, like, do squats and box jumps. It's just, like, a goal of mine to be able to dunk. Like, I started out, like, 6 inches away, and now I'm, like, 3 inches away, but I don't know.
Can you palm a basketball?
No, that's the issue.
So, anyway, hit me up on X or something. We'll talk offline. You'll be able to do it. All right, appreciate you. Good job by Evan. Okay, so I'm not gonna lie. I'll have a transparent moment here with everybody because y'all tune in to most of the programming here on the channel, especially the post-game show. Sometimes we have knuckleheads that rear their ugly heads during the post-game show, and there's, like, these tells, like, really kind of things that we've covered extensively that you get asked about. And when Evan asked about Mike Brown, I'm like, here it comes. He's going to do something. I had my finger on the trigger. And then I'm like, I don't think Evan would do that because he's called before. And then at the end of the call, I let my guard down. Great conversation. Good job by Evan. He's like, oh, hey, Ryan. And I'm like, uh-oh, here it comes. And I was waiting for it again. And he was just asking about Duncan. So good job, Evan, man. I'm proud of you. Well done. Well done there. I think that it's a reality that all of us know with the Kings. It's just, unfortunately, this team was never in a position. They were never in a position to have a plan per se. You had a really good player in De'Aaron Fox. Your probably biggest plan that you had was bringing in a big for De'Aaron. And after that, it was trying to fill in the holes. Would those two be good enough together? And it was just a lot of trial and error. And to Evan's point, where are the Kings at now? They're kind of in what we call the basketball purgatory. And there's a lot of teams that are in that area where you're kind of in the play-in, kind of out of the play-in, which means you're not in the lottery or in the lottery. The Kings have that pick that is likely going to convey to Atlanta, or at least that is the front office is working under the assumption that that pick is going to convey as we sit. So what do you do? What do you do? Can you do enough to get over the hump? Or do you blow up? I think that's the biggest conversation going on. See, yeah, Adam's like, I thought Evan was going to say something weird too. Yeah, see, that's why I have faith in all of you. I'm ready. I'm ready to take them off. But yeah, good job, Evan. Well done, man. Love it. Okay, so Essie, going to come to you in a second. So I've played you 4 clips so far that I think are important to explaining the Kings season thus far. The Kings mid-season yearbook. If you're just joining us, we listened to Coach Brown talking last season about not calling plays. Then we listened to Malik about this year speaking up more, holding the coaches accountable. We then listened to Coach Brown and holding people accountable, how he held Mason Jones accountable after a scrimmage, which I related to the whole Keon situation, where we see Keon basically fall off the face of Mike Brown's rotation. And then we listened to the practice comment. So back to the Niners parallel, it's like, something isn't really clicking. These guys aren't communicating as much as I would like to see. And then this happened. This really caught me off guard. This was after the last preseason game. This was Coach Brown when he was being asked about the offensive struggles. This I was having a very, very hard time reconciling, and now listening to it with the context that we have after 55 games, this is why I have it in the Kings mid-season yearbook. Coach Brown after the last preseason game.
Score, and you're giving your opponent confidence. Like, you turn it over that much and they're getting that many easy points, their confidence is just going like this every time it happens. And so you're making it harder on yourself. On top of that, in our players' defense, I've only allowed them really to play out of our flow. And so, we're not going specifically to this guy or that guy, or we're not, if a team is blitzing or if a team is switching, we're trying to see if we can still score or attack at whatever defense we face. And we did a decent job at it at times, but it puts them in a predicament because at times it's hard and they're just trying to pound away at something that they're not used to, but I'm hoping that they can get used to it. So when we do play in flow during the game, while mixing in our other actions, it's a lot easier to do in the future. So part of it's our fault, but then part of it's their fault in terms of taking too many chances on the turnover. So the biggest thing that I saw last night and the 2 nights before, 2 games before, is our turnover, and that has hurt us on both ends of the floor.
If you've been following along and you remember, the Kings shot the basketball at a awful rate from beyond the arc. Awful rate in the preseason. And everybody couldn't make sense of why. Malik said they're tired. Mike now says that he restricted their offense. They could only play out of certain flows. And now I'm really confused. Seriously, I am confused because the Beam Team year coach didn't call that many plays, or the Beam Team year coach did call a lot of plays. The year the offensive dropped off, which was last year, coach rarely called plays, which means he'd given this team a level of autonomy to do what they want offensively. The numbers dropped significantly. He gets a contract extension. And now we're in training camp trying to integrate DeMar DeRozan into this flow offense. And Mike Brown has restricted them from playing their full offense, or at least certain sets, which in basketball, you can't compare it to like football where you don't run all your plays because it's completely separate. Yeah, you've got a handful of plays that are for out of bounds and for late game situations in basketball that you're not going to run in the preseason, but your standard sets, they're nothing new. They're not the dribble handoff's not going to catch anybody off guard. The pick and roll's not going to catch anybody off guard. Horns isn't going to catch anybody off guard. Pistol is not going to catch anybody off guard. But yet Mike didn't allow them to do much of that, if any of that, when you're working DeMar DeRozan in. So now that feeling in my stomach about this team is really turning. And that's how I felt at the time. And looking back now, it's like, how did we not make a bigger deal of this? Because all the signs, the writing was on the wall about some of these little conflicts, these little rifts that you could see building. So that's where we're at. I've still got more jobs to play for you. Some you're familiar with. Most of these I've played today, you probably haven't heard in a really long time, and it might make a little bit more sense. Keep with the Bill Walton comments. We'll get to those in a minute, or your answers. None of them are right yet, but you can keep guessing. SE, what's up, man?
Hey, Ryan. Thanks
Of
for taking my
course.
call. I just wanted to say that, as a Kings fan for a very long time, if I were, Coach Christie, just knowing what I know, I would go with the starting five in the rotations pretty much that we had. Sorry, not the rotation, but the starting five that we had when we played the Boston Celtics in Boston. Go with that and bring, Levine off the bench. And the reason I say that, not because I think he's a bad player, but he's the one that needs to kind of get going in the offensive scheme of things. And I know a lot of people say, no, you're paying that guy 40 something million dollars a year. How are you going to bring him off the bench? Well, if you want to win, you got to look at what has worked so far. And I think that starting five has been great. And if you, kind of bring Levine in with the second unit, one with like a traditional big, like with Valanciunas, then it may flow better. It may work better. But if the coaching staff or whoever front office puts pressure to keep going with the starting five we have right now, and they don't do something miraculous, then personally, I don't even see us with this tough stretch coming up in March of even being a 500 team. I think we're going to fall below that. And then Doug Christie's job's probably going to be at risk. Front office is going to be at risk. So I don't know. I just think, if you start off the game with two above average defensive players in, uh, uh, in Keon Ellis as well as Keegan Murray, that will help you to not fall into those huge deficits. And then you have to go in scramble mode. The other thing I want to say is this team, although it has a lot of talent on paper, just imagine one time Sabonis goes down if he doesn't get back up.
Oh,
God
yeah,
forbid.
absolutely.
Or Keon Ellis. So just it can get much worse before it can get better. And I'm not saying, like, if Keon Ellis is playing, if you stack his minutes in the first three quarters, right, and then bring either, my pick would be to bring Levine off the bench, but if they're doing really well, you could have Levine close the games, but just don't let us get into those 10, 15, 20-point deficits. Set the defensive tone early on, and then go from there. And then you live with what you have, whatever that, if it doesn't work well, then you can switch up the starting five. in the next game. But that's my opinion. You know, I've weeks now, so
Yeah, you've been on it. I appreciate. Where are you walking to right now? You working out?
yeah, I'm walking my dog right now in our
Oh,
neighborhood.
okay.
So,
I can hear you.
yeah.
I can hear you getting your steps in. Good for you. I love
Yeah.
it. Hey, appreciate the call.
Thanks.
I think you're
Thanks, John.
right on the same track as me, the same wavelength. SE has been all over that. What you're looking at right now is the 5-man combinations. Not all of them are up there, but the top one there: DeRozan, Ellis, Monk, Murray, and Sabonis. That is your best 5-man lineup right now. That is your best 5-man lineup. I am with Essie. If you want the best result, if you want the best basketball from this team this year, that's the 5 you got to turn to start the game. I don't care. I don't care about contracts when I'm saying this in the future. I'm talking about right now. If you want to take that micro of an approach for a couple of reasons. The first is if you let a team come out and score 35 or 40 in the first quarter, you're going to have some role guys that are rolling with confidence. We've seen that story before. The Kings' best basketball was without De'Aaron Fox on the floor this year, for the most part. Their best team basketball, both offensively and defensively. And there's some reasons for that. Monk, Keon, and Keegan can all switch if they need to on the perimeter. That is a big asset. And in fact, I would go as far to say you can almost hide DeMar DeRozan defensively with that group on the floor. That group sets a tone for this team usually, or at least in the 167 minutes and 53 seconds that we've seen them play together. Now, that's the micro, the immediate win now approach. The macro approach, if you're this front office, and I don't know where Coach Christie's at. I haven't talked to him. I'm not in his head. The macro approach is you're looking at Zach LaVine making $44 million and being tied to this organization for the next, I believe it's 3 years. Let's go to the Kings payroll really quick. Here's the Kings payroll. LaVine making 44 this year, 47.49 the year after, 48.96 the year after that. The year that's in blue, that's a player option. That means Zach LaVine could be playing 2 minutes a game, and he could pick up that option, and the Kings are on the hook for it, unless they buy him out. The macro, DeMar DeRozan. Does he want to be in Sacramento long term? That's the other thing you got to look at. And the third thing you have to look at is values. Something we saw at the trade deadline, which I think is going to be a continuing trend in the NBA, is turnover on these rosters between big teams and big players. It's really the only way outside of your rookies and the guys that are locked into that pay scale in your two ways that you can change your team up and improve it dramatically. It's trial and error. You're going to see more of that. And so in order to keep LaVine as a decent contract that still retains its value on paper, the guy's got to play some games. And what I'm getting at is if you sit him down and take him out of the starting lineup, I think you're going to have a lot of problems on your hands. Let me remind you that he did not talk to Billy Donovan in Chicago. Him and Zach LaVine were not on speaking terms when DeMar DeRozan was there. DeMar DeRozan was the conduit to Coach Donovan for Zach LaVine. So Essie's right. I agree with him. At very minimum, at minimum here, one of those two guys, Levine or DeRozan, probably needs to come off the bench for you to have your best shot right now to win basketball games. But you've got a hell of a situation on both ends of that if you sit either of them down. Remember, DeMar was asked about that, hypothetically, and he started cracking up and kind of like you could tell he had probably been asked about that. And there were already whispers going around that it was something Coach Brown wanted to do, bring DeMar DeRozan off the bench. It's not why DeMar came to Sacramento. DeMar did not come to Sacramento to be a sixth man. DeMar came to Sacramento to elevate a team that he felt was on the verge of breaking through with some really good young talent. It just so happens one of the featured pieces there that helped recruit him, things changed on that player's end. Now, you can question whether things had already changed while that player was part of recruiting DeMar DeRozan. That's a different conversation. One thing's undeniable. Things changed between that player and DeMar DeRozan and what that player wanted. And that player is no longer here. DeMar DeRozan does not want to end his career for a 500 team coming off the bench. So there's your micro, there's your macro. What the hell do you do? What do you do? It's the $1 million question. What do you do? Kazi, welcome into the show.
Hey, yo, Ryan, thanks for bringing me on. First of all, your live stream today versus yesterday, there's no link in the chat, and I was wondering because what's his name? Evan was on a walk with his dog. I was trying to figure out how he called in if the link wasn't in the chat prior to.
I had it. I had it pinned to the top of the chat, but I just re-entered it.
Oh, okay. Maybe my phone was just acting up. Anyways, so I wanted to just talk about the whole coaching situation. So, let me ask you this: what do you make of the firing? Do you like it?
Define like it. Do I like how things have played out since it? Do I like that Coach Brown was fired? Like, what angle do you
think it was the right move in the bigger picture?
Was it the right move in the bigger picture? No.
Okay, I agree.
I don't think it was the right move.
Because, I have two angles to it, and I was actually talking to a friend about this. I think short term, yes, you kind of needed a little personnel change up for coaching, head coach. But as far as long term, I don't know how you could fire a coach of Mike Brown's caliber with his resume going long term. And the thing is, it's just that, and I believe Grant and you have said this multiple times throughout the last 2 years, saying that Mike Brown really hasn't been given the right personnel of players to really flourish his team. And I like to use the school analogy, and it's specifically masters, grad school, because I know you have a bachelor's, but do you have a master's?
I do not have a master's, no.
But you know how that kind of process works, where they interviews and they whittle down students, right?
Yep.
So I look at it as okay, look, say you have a program, a graduate program, right? And they're interviewing students and they're looking at their resumes, their GPAs and all that. And they're trying to figure out which of these students is the best for their professors, for their program, best to succeed. And then it's if you have the wrong group of students, they're not going to be able to succeed with the way they run things at their school. So it's if you have the wrong set of players, how the hell do you expect the coach to be able to help them flourish, to be able to have the most successful team?
If you're a coach?
Yeah.
Well, ideally, this is how it's supposed to work. Your coach and your GM.
Yeah, like the GM is like the admissions of the grad school, and then like the GM is obviously brings in the right players, signs the right players, makes the right trades,
Well,
drafts.
it's a step before that. The GM brings in the coach. So
Yeah.
the GM and the coach really, theoretically, the way this should work, it should never be a one person has more input than the other. Those two should be pretty much equally on the same page. Although it's the GM making the moves, they're being ran by in consultation with the coach. Where you run into issues is where there's unilateral power, where you have a coach that's also the GM. Sometimes that doesn't always work out in the long run, like Bill Belichick in New England. But what happened here is I think these guys, Monty and Coach Brown, they had the same idea for what they wanted of this team, but things kind of changed. Things went off in a third direction that neither of them predicted. And then you've got the last variable. Both of them are new to working for Vivek Ranadive. So I understand like how it should work. Coach Brown probably had more say in some things and less say in others. But at the end of the day, clearly Coach Brown and Monty McNair were not on the same page by the end of Coach Brown's tenure here.
Because I don't know if you want to blame the injury to Fox and think like, oh, that definitely affected his performance from day one, and then it took him a while to adjust to trying to play. You don't think so?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, well, I mean, I was just saying. Okay, that's my opinion, but thing is like I just feel like you just didn't bring in like another an extra or two additional players that were capable of playing solid perimeter defense or someone down in the paint. And I just felt like you just tried to rely too much on offense. And I know it's a whole entire work of art to try to get the right combination, and nothing's ever perfect. But I just feel like you didn't do enough this past offseason.
I don't know if it was I don't think it was this past offseason. I think that the off seasons that I look at were before this offseason. Because you got Monk back, you got DeRozan. I feel like they did enough per se, like enough. Sure, there's more you can do, but they did more than they usually do in an off season. So we can talk about it a lot. Kazi, I appreciate you, brother.
Okay.
Good job. I think that's the most thought about and underanalyzed part of this 3-year Kings window, beam team, whatever you want to call it. I truly believe, and it's nothing that I'm breaking, like I've heard from somebody in the building or a source that I trust, that there was a clear disconnect between Mike Brown and Monty McNair. But you look again at Mike Brown's press conference when he was introduced: defense, defense, defense. What's the beam team turn into? Offense, right? Well, now you have this crossroads. Think about it. This is just logic. Karen, thank you very much. Appreciate you being here as well. Jesus, what's a Rock? What's up, dude? John Finch, I saw your comment. Thinking about you, bro. Hope everything's good. Hope everything's okay, man. If not, you know where to call. But getting back to what I was saying, here's what happened. They had this unexpected event, and it was becoming the best offensive rating wise in the history of the NBA. Monty McNair didn't plan that. Mike Brown didn't plan that. You win 48 games. You almost beat the excuse me. I was going to say Wizards and then Lakers. I should have said Warriors. I've been trying not to say Warriors because I want to respect pressures, fandom of another team. But it was kind of building up in the chat, a little bit trolling. So I was going out of my way not to say Warriors, but you almost beat the Warriors in a 7-game series. And now you're sitting there in an off season where you probably had accelerated success, And you're at a crossroads. You have a coach that's more known for his defense than his offense. You have a GM that has limited assets to work with, and you feel like you now have a window to be competitive, a window to possibly make a run. I'm going like J optimism here. Make a run at a championship. I think that right there, that situation, that if you want to point to one area where maybe that relationship faltered, it's the most obvious point to look at. Maybe Mike saw this team going in a different direction after the Beam Team year. Maybe Monty saw it going in another. Maybe Vivek saw it going in a completely third different direction. How that was navigated obviously somewhat changed things, because how do you have that regression? Was Mike okay with running it back? Was Vivek totally okay with running it back? Was it Mike's idea to run it back and Monty wanted to go out and do more? You don't know. We don't know. It doesn't matter anymore. But the point I'm trying to make is clearly there was a disconnect between those two by the end of their tenures. And so getting rid of Mike Brown was the easiest move to shake things up. Getting rid of a GM at that point is nearly impossible. What are you going to do? Other than bring in Wes Wilcox as the interim GM, who is basically Monty McNair's other half. Would be no different than having Monty McNair in the front office himself. So if you were going to shake it up, Mike Brown was the only way to do it. But clearly, they were not on the same page. And that transferred over. Look, there's reports now that Mike's been gone that are we back? I lost you. There we go. We're back. Just got interesting. Yeah. The show kind of bumped there. Where are you, Rhino? I'm still here. Thank you. I don't know why the show did that. That was interesting. So I don't know. Thanks, Rock. Yeah. Squid Game. You can't move. Funny. So, anyways, are you crawling across your attic, both making noise but trying to be quiet and Frank style? What? Okay, we're back. I was worried about that. That was weird. So, anyways, that's the crossroad that we are at. Rhino working with Baki's Wi-Fi. Hell no. Hey, if you only knew, Sacktown Carl, the stuff I had to do to get this place wired correctly. We got premium Wi-Fi in this studio. We ain't got crappy Wi-Fi. We do not have a right answer to the Bill Walton question either. So I'm not sure where all of you lost me. It was probably somewhere about the disconnect with Mike Brown and whatnot and Monty McNair. Let's get back to the yearbook, because I got a few more drops that I want to play that I think are important to where we are this season. Glad you're with me, Ryan, in Sacktown. Taking you up. Let's see. Yeah, I did lose some of my graphics. This is bizarre. What happened to my graphic? Yeah, my yearbook graphic's gone. What the heck? That disappoints me. Got to pay the bill. We definitely are paying the bill. Way better than 256. Rhino looking like the Undertaker with that stare down. Okay, I guess I'm gonna have to go back and watch live to see. All right, fair enough. You guys caught me in a bad moment. Fair enough. Fair enough. We're talking Kings. We're talking last year. We're talking this year, the drops that we should have seen coming. So the last one we left off on was Coach Brown. Okay.
That's terrible.
Look, it's Ethernet, y'all. It's Ethernet. We've got good connections here. That rarely happens. Y'all giving me a hard time. That's fine. Okay, so Mike Brown, he handcuffed the guys. How about less than 24 hours before your first game and your coach is asked about the rotation? Here's what Mike Brown had to say.
You know, this is probably the least amount of feel that I have for my group going into a regular season, and it's due to the injuries, and then the addition of DeMar too, you know, and trying to figure out the rotations and how we're going to use everybody. But I'm excited about it. The guys, you know, we scrimmaged yesterday, and so we got a little bit better feel of it. But we'll have to kind of wait and see as time goes on.
He has no feel for his rotation. One more time.
You know, this is probably the least amount of feel that I have for my group going into a regular season, and it's due to the injuries, and then the addition of DeMar too, you know, and trying to figure out the rotations and how we're going to use everybody. But I'm excited about it. The guys, you know, we scrimmaged yesterday, and so we got a little bit better feel of it. But we'll have to kind of wait and see as time goes on.
So that was a common theme. Mike Brown, I don't have a feel for the rotation through the rest of the season. Now, I'm not going to bore you with the rest of the audio because we're an hour and 42 minutes into the show. You can figure out where the season goes from there. Mike Brown doesn't know his rotation. Then we get possession after
Just
possession.
need to be methodical
after
by
possession.
stacking or playing the right way, possession after possession after possession after possession.
And then this thing starts getting tried in the media. DeMar DeRozan steps up to the podium and says, hey, we know we got to work on stuff.
Clearing up a lot of things, a lot of mistakes that we've been making defensively, offensively. You know, key points to, you know, our wins and key points to our losses.
And that was right before the home stretch of those games before Christmas when Mike Brown ultimately lost his job. And this is what really sealed it for me. Adam hit it earlier. When you start hearing this from a head coach, when you start hearing this,
Somehow, some way, we got to pay attention to details for a little longer, especially down the stretch of a game.
somehow,
some way,
listen to that sigh.
we got to pay attention to details for a little longer, especially down the stretch of a game.
So really, the picture, and I know I didn't get to paint a complete picture because we've been jumping around, but the picture that I wanted to paint for you was this train was kind of off the tracks all along. If you go back and listen, and somehow, some way, using Mike Brown's words, this thing has been reconciled to a degree. Reconciled much better than we thought it would be. Your team is 2 games over 500 at the All-Star break. 55 games into the season, you're 2 over 500. After the Kings Oh my gosh. I know it happened again. Holy crap. What is going on today? And I'm losing all of my setups. My roller coaster's gone. Yeah, my internet, man. My internet has been
That's terrible.
awful today. Wow. Go ahead, pile on.
That's terrible.
Pile on. I blame it on LeBron. I blame it on LeBron. Unbelievable. How does this happen today? We had such a good show planned.
There are some folks who are celebrating and others who are saying, you gotta be kidding me.
So which side are you on? Are you celebrating or are you saying you got to be kidding me?
There are some folks who are celebrating and others who are saying, you.
Unbelievable. This rarely happens on this show, and it's happening today. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's get our last comments in before we get kicked off the air. LOL. Need to stop using those free AOL CDs. Bring it on. Come on. Bring it on. I'll take it. I'll take it like a man. Rhino, Liam must be using the phone. Your dial-up disconnected. Ding, bong, 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 ding. Mike Brown. Yeah, Mike Brown's funny. The better, the more chaotic, the better the show. It's outrageous. It's egregious. It's preposterous. How can this happen to such a good produced show like this?
It's outrageous, egregious, preposterous.
Come on, Pressure O'Brien. Yes, definitely specifically said LOL. Even okay, you guys are ice cold. All right, Illuminati got me. No video, no sound. Frozen. Look at you guys. Frozen, brah. Internet down. We making a deep run. Frozen. Freeze. Damn. So, I will say this. Nobody has gotten the Bill Walton thing yet. Are we going to have to go to a new question tomorrow for this giveaway? Thank you. Thank you, Osan. We will get it fixed. The Internet Upgrade Fund has been made. You know what I think's happening? By the way, Internet, ball 8.
Ball 8.
You know what I think's happening? The son is in his room right now. He is playing. If I had to guess right now, Liam's playing Fortnite. Liam is playing Fortnite instead of doing his homework. Like if I called him out right now and I said, Liam, what are you doing? He's going to say Fortnite. I don't think it's Minecraft. It's Fortnite. So that takes up a decent amount of internet. The wife is on a meeting. That takes up internet. But the thing is, we've got the fiber optic. We've got our own network. This is not supposed to happen. Holy crap, man. Okay, so I run both. Time to stop messing with Windows and get a Mac. You know what's funny? So Techno Tiger, you know what's funny about that? I have more problems when I try to stream through my Mac than I do a PC. Maybe it's the programs that we use. Maybe that's the issue, but it has an issue running through my PC. And I'm a Mac guy. I love Mac. I would be doing a Mac right now. You have 1 gig. Stop it. That's more than enough, Haunted Horse. That's what I'm saying. It's more than enough. It's not them. It's me. Okay, here we go. You know what? Screw it. We're off the rails. I'm going to show all you. Here we go. Stop screen sharing. Let's do this. Let's do this right. We're going to share that screen. I'll drop down. What the hell? What's the website? Speed test. All right. Here we go. Here we go. I have Fidium, Alberto. Here we go. I might lose you. Speed tests don't lie, y'all. Oh, that's bad. Oh, that's not good. What's going on right now? How about that? 65? Whoa. What happened to our internet? What's going on around here? Did we not pay the bill? The up is at 116. It's the down that's the issue. How about that? Interesting. Okay. Hey, at least I got the balls to do it right here. Rhino, that was a fail. That was a very bad fail. I almost don't trust that. It's got to be the computer. How about that? Get faster internet at McDonald's. Okay, here's the real one. Let's see. Let's see where we're at. Okay, 200. All right, 200. 200. That's terrible. I'm sorry if you're watching this on a replay. Oh, wow. Look at this. Unbelievable. How does this happen on today's show? How does this happen? I'm letting you all have a fun time. That speed is slower than Lizzo running a marathon. I don't know what that means, Pressure. I don't know what that means. I love Mac too. In fact, Han and Horse and I, we debate this all the time. Baki gets faster internet. Yeah, bring your Baki smack. It's fine. Come on, pile on. You've got 8 minutes to pile on. Maybe it's the internet company calling. Where's our money? Pile on. McDonald's? I can't afford McDonald's Wi-Fi. Rhino, you're pixelated now. Wow. Commodore 64. Rhino still using AOL. You've got mail. Maybe I need to get that sound drop. All right, well, you know what? Then we're going to wrap up, and I'm going to restart my computer, and hopefully this problem is fixed for tomorrow. Rhino using a Super Nintendo. Okay. All right. Fair enough. Super Nintendo had a really good game, by the way. Ken Griffey Jr. Rhino using okay, keep them coming. Using an iPhone 5 hotspot. iPhone 5s do not have hotspots. Rhino using a potato as an internet router. Potato as an internet router. So do I or don't I have good internet? Pick a side.
Pick a side.
Took all his bandwidth. I agree with you, O'Brien. Reboot your router. Yeah, that's what I'm probably going to have to do. You know, the other problem we have, the dog gets behind my area and that little fiber optic cord is back here and it's not supposed to be sat on. Sometimes the dog sits on it. We have completely come off the rails today. This has become a technology show. I've tried using AOL dial-up. My 30 free hours have apparently expired. Tried to use my iPhone 5 as a hotspot. That didn't work. I grabbed a potato from the pantry. That didn't work either. I used my neighbor's internet as well. That still couldn't get the problem resolved. The dog ate my homework. Yep. And then made me clean up the poop too. Yep. All that. Keep it coming. Appreciate it. Fun show. Was a good show. Again, sorry for the last 15 minutes if you're watching on replay and you weren't getting to have this fun live. Your internet is kings. Well done. Do me a favor. I don't want that thumbnail today to dry, or that thumbnail to die. I thought that was a really good thumbnail. I want that thing to live in infamy. Can I put it on a t-shirt? Your internet is usually good. No big deal. Yeah, I know. It's the weirdest thing. It's not like I don't stream for a living. How about that? Rhino down so bad he's blaming his dog. It's a legend now, or legend low, honestly. Yeah, it is a legend low. with a tear in my eye.
With a tear in my eye.
This is the worst stream of my life. You're a good sport. I try to be. Well, everything's the dog's fault. Come on. It's always the dog's fault. Anyways, hey, fun show. We didn't get through everything. We didn't get to tie it up with a beautiful bow. I guess I'm going to have to go do that on the audio platform. Make sure you're following the King's Court over there as well. And again, sorry, everybody, if you were watching this on the replay, and appreciate everybody that has been watching live. I might as well give you the answer really quick to the Bill Walton thing. And we'll come up with a new question, a new way to give away the Keon Ellis autograph and the t-shirt. The one question that you should never ask Bill Walton. Any last guesses? Any last guesses before I give you the answer? Mice?
Should I go for it, Rue?
It won't hurt you. Won't hurt you. But it is bitter. Yeah, Bill, it's bitter.
Love Bill. Listen to Bill's growl at the end of this. Bill is the best. Any last minute answers for Bill? No? Okay. So the one question that you should never ask Bill Walton. Great chat, Kings fans. Agree. Have a great evening, Furious, as well. The one question you never ask Bill Walton is, how are you doing today? How are you doing today? How are you doing today is the question that you do not ask Bill Walton. And I mean that, and God rest his soul, legend Bill Walton. If you asked Bill Walton how he was doing that day, many times you would get a 45-minute response, even in the most casual of settings. Ryan, it is a beautiful day in the city of the trees, Sacramento, where amazing basketball was played in the Roman Empire. Bill would just go on and on and on and just mix things in that you could not predict. He'd mix stories in. As the Grateful Dead would say, Ryan. He would just go on and on and on. You'd learn things about the city. You'd learn things about whatever he did that day. Asking Bill, how are you doing? It's as simple as that. That was the running joke amongst the media. That's the running joke amongst people that were around him, asking him, how are you doing? Ask Grant about that. I bet Grant would give you the same answer. So Bill Walton using reporters like there. It was beautiful, though. If you go back and listen to some of that, it was awesome. Health, close. Yeah, I was close enough. Yeah, it's just, how are you doing? Don't ask him about his third knee. Come on, I got 2 hips. Give him a break. All right, we're out of here. Appreciate it, everybody. Sorry for the tech issues. I will be going to my mailbox as soon as this show is over. I will be opening my newest version of the catalog. Maybe actually, does my magazine subscription come today? Yeah, I think my magazine subscription comes today. So what I'll do is I will tear out the free offer for 30 more hours of AOL. But here's the deal, y'all. We might have some more tech issues for at least the next 7 to 10 days before my new CD comes in. Granted, now that I'm thinking about it, I don't even have a place to put the CD on my computer. I'm going to have to find a USB CD-ROM reader. All right, well, we'll get the tech figured out. Appreciate every one of you. This was a quality show before the last 30 minutes. There's a lot of good Kings nuggets in there. Great chat, great conversation, very good calls. Appreciate all of you. We are back tomorrow. We have the Kings Roundtable tomorrow at 4:00. You know what that means? That means no Kings Court live. That means the Kings Court will be available audio only tomorrow. Make sure that you tune in on Spotify, Apple, assuming that I am able to get that recorded and start uploading it here in the next hour. It should be available for you sometime tomorrow before 10 a.m., usually about 20 hours with my internet connection. So make sure that you're patient with that. Appreciate you. To the legend that I was lucky enough to be around for a few years.
Doesn't get any better than this.
Mr. Bill Walton, the man. I don't know why you came up so much today, but you did. Have a great day, everybody. Who knows if you can still hear me at this point. I love you all. Thank you very much. Go Kings. Light the damn beam. Can't wait for basketball to be back on Friday. But tomorrow, roundtable, Jerry, Grant, myself, 4 p.m. right here on the channel. Peace.